Welcome to the Powerful Ladies podcast. I'm Cara Duffy, and this week's guest is nervous system and manifestation coach Stefanie Phan Thomas. It's amazing to me how we are always the barrier between where we are today and everything we want to have, create, be, and experience in this lifetime. We also really love to jump ahead and get all of our wishes fulfilled before we do any of the work. And often, as Stefanie works with her clients, the work is learning how to regulate ourselves to manifest from a place of peace, let alone abundance. You can imagine how trying to make anything happen on a foundation of anxiety, fear, etc., is just not going to work. Or not work as properly as we want it to. In this episode, we cover Stefanie's journey, why pivoting is crucial, why accepting honestly where we are right now is a core first step, and so much more. It's a great episode if you're ready to make 2026 your best year yet. Welcome to the Powerful Ladies podcast.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Let's begin by telling everyone your name, where you are in the world, and what you're up to.
My name is Stefanie Phan Thomas. I am located in La Jolla, San Diego, California, and I am a life coach. And I like to say that I'm a life artist.
Well, that sounds very fun and mysterious. What does a life artist mean?
I like to just say that it is alchemizing the experiences that we get into beautiful art.
I love when past guests and dear friends refer people, and you were referred to us from KJ Atlas. How do you guys know each other?
I love KJ. We worked together on her In-Tune Entrepreneur offering, and it was just such an amazing experience to work together. She is now a dear friend of mine, and I really just loved her mentorship and locational astrology magic that she does.
Yes. She is like, whenever I tell people about KJ or I refer them to her, or if I've gifted a lot of sessions with her to people on my team and in my life, they're always like, an astrologer? I'm like, no. Like, KJ is a completely different level. Like, she's the most grounded, like, peaceful, wise, just human I know. And that just happens to be where she uses her gifts. And it's a completely different experience than what people often think they're going to be getting. And I love seeing her and her brand kind of transforming that perspective as well.
I agree.
But I agree with you. I adore her, and I'm so glad that she's in my life.
I agree. Yeah, she's amazing.
So many people don't, when they're 8 years old, think, I'm going to be a life coach. So what were you imagining you would be at 8 years old, and what brought you to being a life coach?
Yeah, so I always thought I would be a fashion designer. When I got close to, college years, my parents did not agree with that idea. I come from a Chinese immigrant background, and fashion design is just not on the list of things that you do. And so I tried to go to FITM, but it did not jive well with them. So I ended up going to NYU. I studied at Gallatin. And if you don't know about Gallatin, it's essentially a school where you can create your own major. So I studied philosophy and communications, which is that's a shorter version of what it was. But luckily, through Gallatin, you're able to take classes from other schools. And so I was able to take classes at FIT and fuse the concept of identity with fashion and philosophy and communications. And through NYU, I was able to intern at W Magazine and Chanel in the PR department. So I kind of found my way to fashion in a different way.
My fashion designer was something I wanted to be for most of my life too. And I didn't end up going to design school until after business school. And when I was there and I realized that the designer had almost no power, I was
Yeah.
like, I don't want that role. Like, I want to be deciding things.
Right, right.
So in my world, I moved into the product strategy and management space. But I do like how most people don't realize how many jobs there are in fashion and so many access points to get into it.
Yeah.
Even if you are an accountant that loves fashion, you can still insert
Mhm.
yourself into that world because every business needs one.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So I actually ended up, once I got out of college, I was an editor for a magazine. And that was definitely, I think, where my strengths shined. And how I ended up getting to life coaching is I recently, after being in the magazine world, I met my husband through that. I actually was writing a story on him, and he was an artist at the time. And we met at the photo shoot. And he was also an artist at the time. And we actually left our careers as artists to get into the cannabis space. My husband fell off a building in 2008 and suffered many injuries, including a traumatic brain injury. And he discovered that cannabis really helped him in his healing journey. And so we decided to jump into the legal cannabis space. And that was an absolute roller coaster of a ride. And it is a very male dominated space. And so after several years of doing that, I definitely experienced burnout. And I felt like I wanted to work with women. And so I signed up for a life coaching certification. And I guess I had my spiritual awakening.
I have some clients currently who are in the cannabis space, and it is still a roller coaster. And
Yeah.
um, it's transformed so much in even just the past 20 years. Um, but I want to come back to you and kind of your aha moment, because I think that when people are talking about big pivots in their lives, there's often like a defining thing.
Mm.
But I also know for other people, especially those who are doing the work to get really to the core of who they are, it's a series of aha moments. So are you someone who had one like moment, or did it kind of come over time and keep reassuring you?
Yeah, actually, I was just listening to your podcast, and the episode on resiliency and what to do when everything feels like it's falling apart really resonated with me. I am just coming off of healing from a series of health conditions after being exposed to mold.
Oh, so
And
sorry.
yeah, thank you. And it really just cracked me wide open.
Mhm.
And I do think that resiliency is built over a lifetime of micro moments, but there are these moments where you have a pivotal event and it just forces you into transformation.
Yeah. Um, so you go and get certified as a life coach,
Mm.
and there's so much variability in the life coaching space. How did you really determine the lane that you wanted to be in?
Yeah, so I just recently, through this mold exposure, kind of connected the dots. And I would say that I was having all these different symptoms and I was having to see all these different doctors. And I remember, and it was happening right around the new year. So
Mhm.
it felt like such a setback. I wanted to create all these goals, but I was feeling incredibly low energy. I had rashes all over my body. And there were days where I just couldn't get out of bed. And there's all this information out there about manifestation is be, do, have. And I am a Pisces sun. And so being in that dream state, visualizing all the things that you want to have is kind of like my jam. You could just leave me in a room full of magazines and I'm just going to vision board all day. But you could say that that's me focusing on the have and completely forgetting about the being and the doing. And when I was suffering from these medical symptoms, I realized that I needed to shift my energy and find a way that I could be and do despite my external reality not reflecting back to me where I wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so I actually conducted this little experiment, and I created a faceless Instagram account. And over 30 days, the Instagram account is called the High Value News. And it was really about putting myself in the energy and frequency of where I wanted to be, even though there were days that I couldn't get out of bed and I didn't want to show up on the camera. And I realized through that experiment that there's just so many tools out there, one, for us to be able to do this. And two, that there's so many women that have this fear of being seen and fear of being judged and have the disease of perfectionism. And that there's this connection between the nervous system and manifesting, because, you know, there's all this information out there about, you know, feel the fear and do it anyway. But if your immune system is compromised and, you know, whether it's from a temporary sickness or chronic illness or an autoimmune disease, or if your nervous system is just so exhausted from being in this state of survival, then feeling the fear and doing it anyway is just exasperating the stress in your body. And so you're either going to fight or flight or freeze or fawn. And that's not going to produce the results that you want. Or even if it does, you're not going to be able to sustain it. And so I've been connecting the dots as you do when something like that happens, and realizing like, okay, this has happened for me and this is what I feel I should be doing to help other women.
Yeah. No, I totally get that. I think KJ and I have talked a lot about how this has been a very unique start of the new year. And so many people, like every client I've talked to, other podcast guests, like my circle, everyone's really felt that the new year didn't begin until, you know, Q2 when
Aries season.
Exactly.
Totally.
And I think it's thrown everyone off course this year a bit because, you know, I surround myself with driven, big dreaming, goal-oriented people. And so just like you, they're like, here are my goals. January 5th or whatever day I'm back in the office, we're going 100%. And then January 5th came and it was like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
To everybody, at some capacity. We launched a new business this year. That got delayed. Like everything you wanted to do, the universe is like, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's really hard for people who are great at causing what they want to accept a wait.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like feel the fear and do it anyway book and concept, I think is great when you are teaching someone who is at neutrality. Like if they're 7 and they're like, oh, I'm scared. You're like, do it anyway. You can do it, because they're going from pretty safe, comfortable nervous system to, you know, okay, go down the slide or jump off the thing.
Right.
So you're building really tiny moments of confidence. They might be extraordinary at that age, but when you definitely can't feel the fear and do it anyway, on top of decades of stuff you haven't dealt with and 18 layers of stress. And
yes,
it's also such a masculine approach. And what I'm finding this year, tell me if you're feeling this too, is the only things that are working, the only things that aren't having resistance for me are things that are in a more feminine approach.
Absolutely.
And I knew I cursed myself when I chose the word of the year as magnet, because anytime that I am not in that magnet space,
yeah,
it's not working.
Yeah.
And for somebody who has always like pushed to make things happen, it's such an adjustment. It's such a level of like faith and abundance and new layers of belief systems and support from people.
Yeah.
What have you been learning in this now almost like 5-month process of transformation for yourself? All bats, everything that was in that.
Well, I think going off of what you're saying, that there is a new way of manifesting and creating what you want through ease and flow is really hopeful, right? Like, that sounds great. I rather that than push and like force through resistance. Like I'm happy to just relieve the pressure. And so I think that has been a retraining of my brain to be like, okay, this is not exactly how I wanted to start the year, but I'm willing to surrender. I'm willing to not put a timeline on anything. And I'm willing to show up and do the work, however that means. And if that means that sometimes I can't get out of bed and there are these challenges, that it's okay.
I always think as well, having a company called Powerful Ladies is also a way that I have sometimes cursed myself. And I need a different word from that. It's like there's a yin and a yang behind all of these things, right? And there are days when I don't want to be powerful. There are days when I don't want to have to be the example for the community. And I don't want to have to step into that space. And it's always in this stretch moment where it's like, well, okay, can we redefine what being powerful means?
Right.
And we redefine what it means to show up. And you and I both know when we're coaching someone, what the advice we would give to somebody else versus what we tell ourselves,
right,
is shamefully in contrast.
Yes, but everything is a mirror, right? So it's like everything that you're pushing up against, it's like, okay, well, what am I supposed to be learning in this moment?
Yeah.
And creating something so magnetic and exciting about being a powerful lady, like that keeps you in that vibe, right?
Yeah.
So even if you aren't feeling like doing that every day, it holds you accountable to that. And so you naturally manifest being a powerful lady just by having this podcast. It's a beautiful thing.
It's certainly the most selfish part of my business. Like I love doing this. And even on days when I'm like, oh, I don't want to record today, the second I start to talk to somebody, it's like, like I'm back to, energy level 10 and remember why all of this exists.
Yeah.
And I think as well, when we step into choosing the path of coach, we also accept, I think similar to many other titles that we can choose for ourselves, but we accept that we're going to have to do a lot of work ourselves.
Oh, yeah. I definitely feel like the moment I decided I wanted to do it, well, the universe was like, oh, yeah, okay, you want a life? Here. And I was like, oh, what is happening? Why am I having all of these challenges right now? And why does it feel like the spotlight is on me? Because now I just said I wanted to be a life coach.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I do think it's interesting how it says, like, it's almost like, are you sure? Like, are you brave enough to step into these dreams that you have? And most of the time we are. And, but it really is confronting us with what can't come into the next phase.
Right.
And there's been so much this in 2025 that I see my clients evaluating, I see myself evaluating, even all the drama with the tariffs. It's forcing all of us in all aspects of life, which is why it feels so heavy, I think, to really be choosing what is intentional, what do we need, what actually works, what doesn't. And in my coaching practice, we look at like the 8 spheres of life sometimes. And when all 8 are on fire, That's when we're like, oh, the whole system doesn't work anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I want to come back to you and your fashion and how that fits into your life coaching, because in one of those 8 spheres, I have self-expression, because I think it's so important for you to be making money in your business or whatever you're doing. If you don't like your clothes, your space, if you're not surrounding yourself with things in alignment with what self-expression means to you, your nails being done, your haircut, whatever that is, you're not stepping into your full capabilities.
Yeah.
How do you use what you learned in the fashion world, and like what parts cross over for you in your coaching?
I really love fashion from a standpoint of craftsmanship. I love the just the attention to detail of fine fashion.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I remember when I was really little, my mom took me to get school uniforms, and I was like putting my hands along the racks, and I was touching the fabric, and I was like, oh no, Mom, I can't wear that. And she was like, why? And I was like, this is just poor quality. Feel it. And she was like, whose child are you? I'm like, why? Why are you saying this? And I was like, I don't know. I just, I can't do this. And so I've always had this thing about quality. And I just love this idea of attention to detail and mastery. You know, the couture craftsmen who spend their entire lifetimes working on certain techniques. I just think that that is such a beautiful thing that we should invest in preserving. And so when I think about how that connects to my life coaching, it's this idea of mastery and this idea of continuously working on yourself to allow that expression that wants to be expressed into the world.
Mm-hmm. I know that so much of my life has been between that sounds awesome or that's stupid, we're going to change it. And often I find for coaches of all spectrums that there is like a wish you have for people that's at the heart of like why you feel compelled. So what are you wishing for humanity and certainly your clients that they can get access through working with you?
Well, yeah, that's a good one. I definitely feel like for humanity, I wish that we can come to the realization that really it doesn't matter what everybody thinks, and no one actually really cares that much. You know what I mean? Like you're so worried about what people think, but everyone's worried about themselves. And so just like don't worry about it. Don't worry about all of that. Just worry about yourself and and honor your desires.
Where do you find most people are limiting themselves?
I mean, I think it comes back to that, right? Like this, at least in the women that I've been working with, there's this common thread of this fear of being judged and this fear of being seen and that you're not doing enough. And so I think that that is plaguing a lot of us at this moment.
Yeah. Yeah. When you hear the words powerful and ladies, what do those words mean to you, and how does their definition change when they're next to each other?
I think that for me, being a powerful lady is having the courage to be authentically yourself. How that changes when those two words are combined. I don't know if I have a, I don't know if that changes for me.
Yeah, it may not. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it really is about just having the courage to be yourself.
Mm-hmm. what we've have found throughout Powerful Ladies is that there have always been a mentor or another woman in our lives who have significantly influenced what we're doing or given us a hand when we needed it. How have other powerful ladies impacted your life and your journey?
There's so many. I definitely think that my mom has been somebody that has inspired me a lot. Um, in my network, KJ is definitely one of those women who's been in my corner and encouraging me and paving the way as well. Just witnessing the way her business has morphed and transformed is really inspiring for me.
Yeah. When you are looking at what's going on in the world today and how you're balancing what you can handle in your own life and your own business, what are some rituals, practices that you have to do on a daily basis to be ready to take on whatever is going to come your way that day?
When your health gets a little off balance, I feel like you just come back to the basics. And
Yeah.
so for me recently, it's just been really simple things like sleep, making sure that I get like at least 8 or 9 hours is like my golden hour in sunlight, moving my body, and really just coming back to my practices of breath work and meditation to regulate my nervous system.
Mm-hmm. You've also had the privilege of getting to experience being an immigrant twice, and the perspective that that gives, and the grit and the endurance and everything else that comes with it. First to Australia and then to the U.S. What is something that would surprise people about how that experience has impacted you?
Yeah. I think that culturally, well, I'll speak to the Chinese and Western cultures. I remember when I first came to America, there's this saying that the squeaky wheel gets the oil. And in China, I never lived in China, having my family, cultural upbringing. The saying is the loudest duck gets shot. And so
Small difference.
I remember just growing up and seeing that conflict, even within my family dynamic. I just remember my mom being like, why is it that you have to be so confrontational? And I remember just even looking back thinking, or today, I feel like there's just so many layers that I wish to peel back in my being to be more courageous and, in her words, confrontational. And as I get older, I also see the wisdom in both sayings, right? Because there is a lot of power in silence, and there's a lot of power in embodying your values to the point that you don't need to say a word. I definitely am seeing how there's a lot of wisdom in these challenges of different cultures.
Well, and I think that's a sign of wisdom, right? Being able to see the value in two contrasting perspectives. There are moments when being loud is either not appropriate or not powerful or not going to help you with your needs or your cause. And then there are other moments when being silent is also not going to help.
Right.
And both, it's the example. I think it's very much aligned actually with the concept of power. What type of power are you stepping into? And do you know which one is appropriate when? And I think, some of the conflicts that we're experiencing today and the different topics that are kind of taking everyone's attention in the media are examples of people not maybe knowing which power is going to be the most effective. And you can feel it. Like, no matter what side you're on from a political spectrum, you can feel when you're like, oh, I don't think I would have done it that way. Like, That's probably not the approach that we should have taken. And
Yeah.
when there seems to be only one way to achieve things right now, and like right now, it sounds like it's all loud all the time,
Yeah.
very masculine, very aggressive. And you're like, I don't, why are we yelling? Like everyone else is quiet.
Yeah.
Like it feels weird when we're at a 2 and the people yelling are at a 10. You're like, okay, are you listening to loud music? Like what's happening in your world where
Right.
it feels like that has to be the intention? And I think that's something that, of course, stereotypically, but women tend to know where to be swinging the access to power that they have.
Mhm.
I think they're a little bit more subtle in knowing what power to use, when to use which one, especially I think women of our generation who have never been told they couldn't.
Right.
I remember going through my early days of my career, and so many of the female leaders were just replicating what the men were doing because there was no one for them to be inspired by.
Mm.
And it's been really interesting to see my generation be like, okay, saw you doing that. I'm going to do it a different way. Thank you for showing me almost more of what I don't want to do versus what I do. Um, but I feel really lucky to be in this moment of time when women are able to be expansive and choose. There's still plenty of room to go. But at least in Western cultures, there is, and even just specifically in California, let's just choose. We have a lot to say in what power we use and which ones we don't and what our life looks like. And I appreciate that.
Yes, I know. I am so grateful for this moment in time that we're in. Just even recently, I feel like there's so much information out there that I wish I had when I was younger,
Mm-hmm.
to guide us and support us in navigating leadership and power as a woman.
Yeah. And you and I both know that we're seeing this rise, right, of like what is toxic masculinity, what is balance, like all the things. So it's really interesting to see it now. Now both sides are getting to ask themselves the same questions,
Right.
because it doesn't have to be binary in it's this way or that way. And that's sometimes the biggest thing I think that people who are questioning, should I have a coach? Again, life coaching, fitness coaching, business coaching. To me, the biggest asset is having someone who can break you free from like a binary choice.
Right.
We think it's left, right, stop, go, good, bad. And it's like, or there's 1 million options. Do you want to talk about some of them?
Right. Or and having the both and that we can just, that there is duality, that we can hold
Yeah.
something so amazing and still be going through some really tough things at the same time.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, we ask everyone on the podcast where you put yourself on the Powerful Lady scale. If 0 is average everyday human and 10 is the most powerful lady you can imagine, where would you put yourself on that scale today and on an average day?
Oh. I think I'm really hard on myself. I don't know. I mean, I think that I am becoming, and I am always striving for that 10 out of 10. But, I think that maybe I fall somewhere around 6 and 8.
Perfect. Um, what is a quote or a book that you keep coming back to?
I recently heard this quote. I don't know who said it, but it has definitely impacted me. It goes, as humans, we are not the highest versions of ourselves that we want to be. We are the lowest versions of ourselves that we are willing to tolerate. And I have been coming back to that and just reviewing what are the things am I currently tolerating that I no longer want to tolerate, and what are my standards.
I love that. Uh, One of my favorite things to do is to work through a client, look at their business and say, what are you tolerating? There's so many stories that we have of, oh, I can't find the right person. I'll never be able to delegate that. That's just the way it is. I'll have to deal with that type of bookkeeper. And I'm like, what? No, like there's every time that we're accepting something that's we know isn't even just working, not even ideal.
Right.
It's keeping us from our greatness. It's keeping us from expanding. It's keeping us from being at the vibration that we want to be at. All the things. And even if you want to take all the woo-woo stuff out of it, it's just keeping you away from being efficient.
Right.
And so I love that that's your new go-to, because I wish more people were asking themselves, like, what am I tolerating? 'Cause yeah, every day.
Right.
Your itchy uniform, it's got to go.
Exactly.
Yeah. This is a big connected community, and we love to pay it forward and help make extraordinary and ridiculous things happen. What is something on your to-do list, wish list, manifest list that you would love to offer up to this community for help with to make come true?
I am currently working on creating a membership space for women that deals with healing your nervous system and facing the fear of being seen and unlocking the key to manifestation through embodiment. And so that is something that I'm working on, and I would really love to have support around bringing that beautiful space to life.
Sure. What specifically can we do for you? Do you want members? Do you want to just hold that in our thoughts for you? Should we follow you on Instagram and make sure everyone knows when it's live?
Yeah. I would say I'm on Instagram. So if you want to follow me there and check it out, and if it resonates with you, I'd love for you to be in that space with me.
Perfect. So for everyone who would love to hang out with you and be in that space and follow and support you, where can they do those things?
My Instagram is my name. It's Steph with an F, Stefanie. And then Phan looks like fan, Phan, Thomas, Thomas.
Perfect. Well, I'm so glad that KJ connected us and that we were able to make today's conversation happen. Thank you so much for the work that you're doing in your world. And I'm glad that you are starting to come through the struggles that you have been dealing with this year.
Thank you.
And thank you for sharing that story, because it's proof that even when you are masterfully guiding other people through their greatness and what they're dealing with, it doesn't mean that you're not climbing your own mountain too. And to your point, it can be a both and. We can both be in it and moving each other towards that next better place. So thank you for that example.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Powerful Ladies podcast. If you enjoyed this conversation, please subscribe, leave us a review, or share it with a friend. Head to thepowerfulladies.com, where you can find all the links to connect with today's guest, show notes, discover like episodes, enjoy bonus content, and more. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode and new amazing guest. Make sure you're following us on Instagram or Substack @PowerfulLadies to get the first preview of next week's episode. You can find me and all my socials at karaduffy.com. This is a Powerful Ladies production produced by Jordan Duffy and Amanda Cass. Until then, I hope you're taking on being powerful in your life. Go be awesome and up to something you love.